but they're not. Oh, that's the good stuff. And then we get to choose who we let into our weird little worlds. You're not perfect, sport. And let me save you the suspense. This girl you met, she isn't perfect either. But the question is whether or not you're perfect for each other. That's the whole deal. That's what intimacy is all about.
Why don't you love me, Jenny? I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
So what?
So it's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be really hard. And we're gonna have to work at this every day, but I wanna do that because I want you. I want all of you, forever, you and me, every day. Will you do something for me? Please? You just picture your life for me? 30 years from now, 40 years from now? What's it look like? If it's with that guy, go. Go! I lost you once. I think I could do it again. If I thought it's what you really wanted. But don't you take the easy way out.
What easy way? There is no easy way. No matter what I do, somebody gets hurt.
Would you stop thinking about what everyone wants? Stop thinking about what I want, what he wants, what your parents want. What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
On like roller coasters, you know I can read your mind. Yeah, you always seem to keep me second guessing. I've been walking a while, you got me tripping. I'm tired of what you...
Hello. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to now this is like our second episode of the, once we've decided our name, right? The
Yes.
Unwrap Love show. So,
And shout out to Jennifer. Thank you, Jen. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you, Randy, as well, tuning in over on our YouTube page. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, like I've been having a lot of technical issues lately, like trying to figure out all of my streaming stuff. And, you know, guys, I'm a pretty much, when it comes to live streaming, a perfectionist. And when somebody says you're an expert and you just can't like work out the bugs just yet, it kind of bothers you. So that's just a mental thing with me. But yes, we're good. So
Hey, Yolanda.
hello, Yolanda. Thank you for tuning in again over on our YouTube channel. So we need to get in the habit too, baby. I need to teach you to do this as well.
Do what?
So there's usually a script that you memorize, and it only has to deal with like your social media. So when you're building an audience, say when we start building something and we're live and you want somebody to build something, you say, hey, head over to our YouTube channel at, you know, blank, 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 blank. Do me a favor.
Yes.
While you're there, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and it'll let you know whenever we are live, whenever we schedule new lives, or whenever we not drop new video content on the channel. So if you're checking us out over there on YouTube,
Teach me your ways.
thank you. I will teach you your ways. All right. So I prepared for this. I prepared for, one of these things, not the other. I prepared for this. So when I created the event today and I shared it on LinkedIn, I put over there on LinkedIn that that if there's any problems, issues with mobile or even on your desktop, I in the comments I put the link to our YouTube channel, which apparently seems to be working. Those who are already shown up know, and guys like Dean. I mean, I invited quite a few people, and oh gosh, it's killing me that LinkedIn isn't working, and it's even worse that my Facebook isn't working. So we're okay. I guess we're stuck with the land of YouTube because Anthony's saying Facebook is not working either, and I figured that out as well just a few minutes ago. I mean, it launches to go live there, and then for whatever reason, there's an error. So I think it's on my part somewhere. So I'm gonna have to check my software, make sure I have an update for everything. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So we're gonna continue to do what we do, no matter what. And look, Yolanda's tuning in from both YouTube, and this is what I love about Yolanda. She's always been one of those people that is an overachiever in my book as far as a commenter. Like she'll come and do like on LinkedIn, and then she'll head over to YouTube, and I mean
Does
she's all over
Yolanda
the
have a
place.
channel? Does she
I
live
don't.
stream?
No, I don't think she live streams, but I think she might have a YouTube. Well, she's got a YouTube. You don't have a technical YouTube channel. You do have a ID that you use. So I guess I don't know. Yeah. So you try my luck, although the chats are not showing up. Oh.
I don't know.
All right, guys. So I guess we can go ahead and get started and moving in the direction of what our topic of discussion is about. Now, this came about. Oh, why is your volume so low?
Whose volume? Mine or his?
Mine, probably. Hold on. How's that? Okay. I had my volume turned down. I'm sorry. Excuse me. So let me know if that's okay, Randy. My volume might have been both. Both?
Both. It was both of us.
Oh, interesting. Technical.
Do we sound louder now? Much better.
Much better? Okay. I just pumped the volume up a little bit because I don't know. Sometimes it's hit or miss when you're messing with technology. So, but what we're talking about tonight, and this discussion actually came about while we were discussing our upcoming podcast and stuff that we're going to be doing here in the coming weeks. One of the things that we were really looking into was just different perspectives on like some of the subject matter and the topics that we really wanted to explore. And as we came about this one, we actually watched a video last night. And it was really intriguing. It was a really good video. Let me give a shout out to where it came from. It was from Mark Manson. It is from the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck podcast. He's written a couple books, really good author, really good podcaster. I mean, he usually gives really great advice, but what they were doing is they were just discussing like audience submissions from people asking like advice and questions. And one of them that really brought about, I guess, a subject matter that we don't quite know what, but between the two of us, because ours is a little different, but we might have experienced it. We've experienced it in the past, and I think everybody does at some point. But the topic of tonight is why opposites attract and how to bridge the gap, a dance of differences. So go ahead, baby. I'll let you.
So when we were watching the video last night, he was basically saying like answering questions to people that were writing in, and they were asking, you know, should I break up? Should I break up? So it was all these different scenarios and situations where the couple was having certain problems. And so he would give really good advice about it. So we kind of discussed it after the video, and that's why we came up with the topic opposites attract. Because I was started to think like, yeah, that is the initial attraction. A lot of times, you know, people are initially attracted. First of all, why? Why is a couple initially attracted when they're totally opposite, when they don't have a lot in common? And then two, you know, is that something that can have longevity? Can you stay in a relationship where you're very opposite? Do you ever learn to compromise? Do you ever learn to get along? So we kind of did a little bit of research on that to find out like, well, what is it? What is it about the opposite attract thing that really brings somebody in? And so one of the first ideas was the mystery of completeness. So there's some kind of mystery about, well, you know, I might be, you know, introverted and they're extroverted, and I really like how they act, you know, around other people, and they're social and I'm just not. And maybe that can make up for my differences. You know, maybe that they will complete me. And just like that movie with Tom Cruise.
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire, you complete me. So maybe that completeness is something that draws somebody into that opposite person, because they have something that we lack.
Yeah.
They have something they lack, and we, you know, admire that. We admire their skills. We wish we possessed them. You know, we haven't explored some of the perspectives that they have, and so just taking a that risk and being with somebody that's different from us is sometimes intriguing.
Oh, absolutely. Um, it's just like so. Well, for me, it's one of the things
Can
like
we increase the volume again?
oh,
I'm on 96%.
and had my
Turn my volume down to 50%.
hold on, guys. Let me check something real quick.
Anybody else having trouble hearing?
We're trying to figure this out, guys. So give me just 1 second.
Because you sound really loud whenever you're talking in that mic to me. It's like on blast.
Okay, output is going through. Oh, okay. All right, you let me guys know if that sounds any louder. Okay. Okay, let me know if it sounds louder now. I do apologize, but like sometimes my computer will system reset, and what that means is like the initial output is usually supposed to go through my Rodecaster Pro, and sometimes it switches back down to 50. Oh, okay. I am on 96%. I checked my volumes on another live stream and had to turn my volume down to 50. Okay.
What about me when I'm talking? Do I sound like I'm up now, Randy? Messing.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay.
You're always loud.
I'm always loud. Okay.
That is better, although I'm still on 96.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I tried to. I don't know if it worked, but we tried. Hold on. All right, how's that?
Is that better?
I hope it's better. I mean, I
Can you understand what we're saying, or does it sound too far away where you can't understand anything?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure this out. We're good.
Go with it.
Okay. All right, we'll just roll with the punches. Okay,
Cool.
so, like I was just saying before, the whole thing about completeness, right? It is one of the things that we feel that when we start looking or dating or wanting to explore, bringing in somebody in your life, you're breaking my ear. Oh my God. One's too low, one's too high. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to make of this. You guys are funny. Okay, so anyway, what I was saying is, and I, it is a work in progress.
Yes.
Okay, the completeness. But when I wanted to start searching and even think about dating somebody else, I was already at a point in my life where I felt like I was a heck of a whole lot closer to what I wanted to be as a person. So I didn't feel like there was like any kind of huge void that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were spaces that I did miss, and I had a space for somebody that I wanted to bring into my life. I knew that. But like the whole thing of like I needed it because it was different. I don't think that was what I was searching for. I really wanted somebody actually that meshed with me really well. I think I kind of already went down that path of trying to look at people, and especially women when I was trying to date. They were different, and I realized it just wasn't for me. It wasn't.
I think maybe it's just like a younger thing. Maybe when you're younger, it's exciting because it's somebody that's different and it's new, and maybe you just haven't discovered your identity yet. So you're curious about that type of behavior or that type of skill that person has. But I think as you age and hopefully have developed your identity, so that should have been kind of taken care of in adolescence to early adulthood. But a lot of times people go back and try to rediscover their identity even in their 30s and 40s. Hopefully not too much later after that. But I think once you've discovered it, it's a little bit easier to kind of understand that you want to be with somebody that's more like you, somebody that can share things with you, somebody that's not too completely different. But if, it does happen where they're different from you, and we'll get to that point, there's definitely some necessary steps that you have to take to try to make it work.
Yeah.
So the second one, a reason why possibly people are
Opposites.
attracted
Yeah.
to the opposite is
Stepping out. Well, it's excitement and growth. Excuse me. So part of it is stepping out of your comfort zone, right? It can be different. It can be exhilarating. It can be one of those things that, you haven't quite experienced yet. You know, dating someone from yes, I have. Dating someone different though opens you up to a new world of experiences. So like
when you're experimenting when you're
young,
Yeah.
right? The things that in our lives, the challenges that we see things from another angle, right? It helps us kind of foster personal growth sometimes. So we feel like if there's things like when we talk about even like with coaches, like life coaches, that's one of the things they push you to do, right? Is to step outside of your comfort zone, to be a little bit different, right? Do something that you would normally not do. So yeah, there is an attraction to that, right? It can do so many things. It injects a lot of things, excitement into what the novelty of your life might be. So when we're looking for that spark in our lives, I think that's one of the things too, is you get excitement and growth out of it. You feel like, okay, this is different for me. So yeah, I'm going to try doing something different.
Yes. And then the thrill of the chase. So there's this unique allure and pursuing someone that's different from you. So there's a challenge of understanding them, to bridge that gap, to overcome potential communication hurdles that could be a source of excitement and adventure. So trying to figure out how to communicate with that person. So it's exciting. It's a thrill to go after someone. I know that that's happened to me in the past with people I've dated, where I think sometimes the guy thought it was a thrill of a chase to date me, because I, was a little different looking when I was younger. And so I just got all excited for the attention, not realizing that we were completely opposite. So I stayed in relationships sometimes where there was a lot of opposite going on. And I just thought, maybe opposites attract. And I used to think that in my mind. But as time goes on, you'll see, like, what is there to talk about? What is there to do? If you don't share the same hobbies, if you don't do some of the similar things, if you don't have the same lifetime goals or same values, it becomes a challenge to continue to be somebody, be with somebody that's opposite from you.
Yeah. And again, when you look at the things in your life, and especially as say you mature and you start knowing a little bit more about what you want out of life, right? When you start getting more confident in the things that you want, that's just, one of the things where excuse me, I'm trying to collect my thought, but when I've always wanted to try something different, right? That was that was for me a almost like a driving factor to wanting to essentially just allow myself to be what is that word? I can't even say it. Not exploratory, but discovery. So again, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, because there's oh my God, it's driving me nuts. The word I was looking for, I had it on the tip of my tongue, and now I couldn't remember it.
It's called tip of the tongue phenomenon. It's a psychology term when you know what you want to say and it's right there, but it just doesn't want to come out. Yeah, it happens to me. Sometimes I get like that in the classroom, or sometimes I get mixed up and I say things backwards. It's hilarious. So you always know when someone's listening when they catch you doing that.
Yeah. Right. So, but what I was leading to though, when was just driving me nuts, was like, when you're, especially when you're doing something like seeking adventure, right? When you want to say, okay, let's see what life has in store for me. When you start doing it with somebody and they drive you to start saying, okay, let's do this here. Let's go skydiving. Something that you would say, I'm never going to do. Right. But the right person comes along and I don't want to, well, yeah, you start getting into infatuation and you start, seeing that this person in a whole nother way. And you go, you know what? If they can do it and they're willing to try it, I'm going to willing to do it and to try it. Right. So you just go after it. Right. And you do it. You jump out of a plane. You're like, oh my God, I jumped out of a plane. Right. There's so many things like that in our lives. Maybe not to that extreme, but like for some people, it's simply like going out bowling. I've never been bowling. And you take somebody and they're like, oh, I enjoyed it.
Like taking the risk with the live streaming. I'd never done that before.
Right. Right. And this is a leap. Like, this is a leap for her. Like, I'm already comfortable in it. I'm grabbing her hand and bringing her along with me. So this is something different. And this is, again, part of it is like, okay, we're doing something together. And I think that's initially what you want, right? No matter what that other person has, their values and their beliefs, right? Those things sometimes get put to the side because you're enjoying being with that person. You're enjoying their company. You're enjoying just having them around. So you're willing to do so many things that you usually wouldn't probably do if you thought about it rationally and said, okay, yeah, this isn't me.
Yeah, but the key is communication. So in any relationship, whether or not you're opposite or you have things that are similar, you've got to communicate. You have to figure out a way to talk about it, a way to talk about, what's going on, your day, be able to share, your feelings, be able to open up, be able to talk about your past, your present, your future. You have to have that. Communication is challenging sometimes for some people that are not used to it. But as you develop that skill, it becomes easier and easier in a relationship.
Yeah. And the reason that we started talking about this is because you start looking at what we've already just kind of discussed in the short term, right? But what happens when it starts to extend longer, right? When it starts coming that you're with this, it looks like you're going to be with this person for, a couple years, right? Like, is it the things that you do just in the beginning to kind of, as in this, in the sales world, right? We want to just get you through the door.
That's the show, the theater, everything in the beginning to show like, oh, look at me. This is who I am. And the other person, yeah, look at me. This is who I am. And so I think a lot of relationships and with that theory, that's a sociological theory called dramaturgy, where people put on an act, put on a show to show you who they are. Now, they do it either for the benefit of themselves or for others, but behind closed doors, that's how you really are. That's who you really are.
Yeah, my friend kind of told me this, and it was funny, but it was kind of true, right? She says, the first 6 months to a year, you're meeting that person's representative, right? They're there to, hello, how you do? Glad to hand you, show you the good part, show you all the fun stuff. And, then a year, they say, hey, I got to go. And this person's going to stay behind me. Okay. So they're going to stay with you. And you're like, oh my God, who is this person? Right. It happens all the time for people. It's like, I've heard so many stories, and especially reading a lot of like stuff about dating and just reading how people feel with trust issues. It's because a lot of it's because they were sold a bill of goods in the beginning, and it didn't deliver. Like, people are sitting there going, okay, he said he was this, she said she was that, she showed all this potential and things in the very beginning, and all of a sudden it's like one day a light switch turns on and everything changes, and you're just like, it feels like I don't know this person anymore. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but that's how a lot of times people start describing their relationships.
You put on your best self in the beginning. And so that's why I think it's real important, especially if you want longevity in a relationship, to lay all your cards out. Say what's, your issues are, what you're bad at, what you know that you're working on. But share all of it. Share your flaws. And somebody that cannot share their flaws and makes it seem like they're totally perfect and it was all their ex's fault. Everything their ex did, that's why. That's why the relationship ended. Usually is a red flag. So that's not somebody that you want to talk to because everyone has some kind of issue and has to have some reason why a relationship ended. It can't always be just the other person's fault.
Yeah. And you know, and sometimes we even internally, like, we sell ourselves on thinking that we can make this work, we can change a person. So like in terms of, say, I was a Christian and I was a devout Christian and I went to church, but she was like, well, I really don't believe in God so much, or I'm spiritual, but I don't go to church and I don't do any of these things, right? You know, it kind of makes it difficult because, you know, if you have a very strong faith and it's something that's very important to you, and then the person that you love and you essentially potentially want to spend the rest of your life with doesn't, I mean, you're not going to get that kind of support. It's difficult to want to have to say, okay, you know, this is the way that I am, and you knew this from the beginning. I mean, we make those subtle little.
You do. And I was with somebody at one point who told me they were an atheist. And yeah, I'm a Christian and I go to church. And so that was a hard one. But because I thought, you know, opposites can attract and maybe one day they'll change, I decided to be in that relationship. So eventually they did actually change. They accepted, you know, Jesus. They started to believe in God. But, you know, definitely wasn't me. But, you know, I took that risk and that doesn't always happen to everybody. A lot of times the person will never go to church. And that person didn't. That person never went to church. Maybe a couple times, but I was the one that always went to church. They believed, but they wouldn't go to church. And I knew that was something that I wanted in a future relationship. I wanted to be with somebody that actually did some of the same things that I did. I was tired of going to places by myself, going to plays by myself, going to church by myself.
Yeah, and it becomes difficult because the whole reason that you want to be in a relationship with somebody is to spend time with them, right? I mean, to me, that's the whole goal, is to have somebody in your life that you actually enjoy being around, that you trust, that you're confident, it's the person that you can share those things with. And sometimes, yeah, you might have your separate identities, but there are times you want to do things that are very strong like that in your life together. I mean, it really does feel like you're living a separate life sometimes when you allow that to happen. I mean, and you know, that's the thing, is like, if you're, and what we're talking about, just to make things work between two people who are totally opposites. I mean, it really does it really is a lot of work to understand and you know, not only understand, but to sometimes compromise on each other's like values and things that you hold in your life. Like, there are things that, so like in the instant,
family, for example,
yes.
You know, if you come from a family where you're not very close to your family, you don't spend a lot of time with your family, but your partner does, and they want to spend time and they have a big family, and you want to try to go and spend time with your family. Then you have all of the, you know, you have your partner who doesn't want to go with you. So you end up going by yourself with your family, and your partner stays at home because they don't feel comfortable being around the family. Then you start having a separation in your relationship. You're not on the same page when it comes to your values. And I think it's important to be on every page as you turn the book of your life. Like, if you're on different pages, you're going to get lost. You're going to get confused. How are you going to stick together and grow together if you're constantly battling with some of the important issues? I mean, some of the important things like your values.
Yeah. Like in the case of just like somebody being totally extroverted, the social butterfly, they love going out and having an active social life and going places with friends, and then you have somebody who's a total like introvert and really sort of antisocial and really doesn't enjoy being around big group gatherings. To bring those two things together, I mean, it does take a lot of work. I mean, you do have to find a common ground between the two of you to say, okay, we can do this. We can, whatever it is, say we can go over there, but we'll limit the time that we're there. Right. I mean, that might be a thing that you discuss.
Mhm.
You're like, hey, look, I really do want to go. I really do want to support you. I know it's just very difficult for me to be in those situations. So can we only go for like an hour or so? Or maybe can I leave after an hour for whatever reason? I'll just excuse myself. Like, I mean, I think those are compromises as far as like doing something like that instead of just saying I'm not going at all.
Yeah, you have to find the common ground, something that you can work with, and part of that's the communication beforehand. If you can't communicate about what common ground that you can cover, then you're going to have issues. You're going to have it's going to be difficult to continue to exist in a relationship like that where you can't get along, when you can't figure out some way to have some type of common ground.
Yeah, and I remember like one of my one of my coaches told me this before I even met Yvette, and it was funny, but now that it's starting that she had mentioned it to me, it makes a lot of sense now. But she said, like, when you're going out dating and one of your favorite things is like ice cream and cheese and stuff like that, would you really want to date or go out with somebody who's like lactose intolerant? Like, that might be a hard sticking point, is like to say, man, I do enjoy these things, but yet I would feel bad if I wanted to go to, say, grab an ice cream cone, and you're like, well, what am I, they feel almost excluded in some point. So, hello, look at there. One of my favorite people, Miss Sia Yasator Unwrap.
And Dan came in too. Hey,
Yes,
Dan.
hello, Dan. Well, if you're having problems over on LinkedIn, and people you can head over to our YouTube page. I did put a link in the comments if you want to go check us out over there. But yeah, I mean, to me, that was one of the things, like, you know what? I do really want to find somebody who my mind, my body, my soul would mesh with really well. And sometimes we try to force ourselves into wanting to make somebody. Oh my gosh, even in full screen. That's okay. We're working on it. This is a work in progress, trust me. But anyway, what I was just simply saying was that,
Yeah, if you like ice cream, find somebody that likes
Ice
ice
cream.
cream. Like, don't find somebody that's lactose intolerant, because you're not going to be able to share the same things. Just like I love going to plays, I like going to live events, I like going out and doing something, I like painting, I like doing these things. And what was really cool is the very first weekend that Gabe and I got together, we went on 3 dates back to back. Or was it 4? I think it was 4.
4.
It was 4 dates back to back. And so, the first one, our first date was at a really nice restaurant. So we went there. And then our second date, he actually got to come to my school and meet my students. And it was an event. So it was a drill team event. And he was like getting all into it and clapping. And I was just so impressed, because I've been with someone before who was a grouch the whole time, was like, they're screaming too loud, they're clapping too loud, and would never go to another one with me again. And so then we ended up going, was it painting that weekend? Or no, I think we went painting a different weekend.
Yeah, different
But
weekend.
we did go to church together, and I was like, oh my gosh. So on Sunday we went to church together. He got to meet my whole family. We ate lunch, and then spontaneity. I was like, I want to do something now after lunch. Said, what about the Arboretum? And he was like, yeah. And I said, really? So we went to the Arboretum, and we almost got locked up. So that's another story. But yeah, that was fun. So we walked through the Arboretum, and it was pretty empty because, it was raining. And so everyone gets freaked out because of the rain. But me and Gabe were like, no, it's cool. We have an umbrella. So we were walking around with hail coming down, like knocking the side of our umbrella, but it was pretty strong. It kept us safe. And so we got to kiss in the rain. And so there was a lot of firsts just with that first weekend. And it's cool when you're with somebody that enjoys some of the same things that you do. But then eventually we went to the painting with a twist, which I had never gone to before because other people I'd been with never wanted to do that. So I just always put it off and I never did it. So we were able to do that. We did a really cool painting together and had a lot of fun with that. And it just feels like it's so much better being with someone that's on the same page with you. It's a person that can be on that page and you just keep turning the pages. And it's like every part of our chapter we're on. I don't know what chapter we're on now, but it's going to be a really long book because
That's what we're planning
I
for.
like my chapters.
That's what we're planning for.
It keeps getting better and better every day.
Yes. And, you know, one of the hardest things for me when I was looking and decided to go start dating again, was realizing that was I ever going to find somebody that could mesh with me that well? And I was very specific about what I wanted, like in my mind.
Thanks to Melissa.
Thank you, Miss Melissa. But I was very specific about what I wanted in my life, and I really did a lot of due diligence on looking at different profiles, talking to different women, before I was led to finding this beauty. So yeah, I mean, the thing about us is that we had a lot of commonalities, and that was something that we really just aligned with very early on. I mean, to me, it was a big drawing factor. It was like, oh my God, I have so many things in common with this woman. And especially not only just like our personal experiences, but then the way that we communicated, the way that we talked, it felt like very easy going to have a conversation with her.
Easy. And then our values aligned, like, what we wanted in the future, how we saw our lives now, the things we care about, what we want. When he told me that he did interviews on the human perspective, I was like, what? I teach sociology and, psychology, and I love people and I love perspective and I love cultures and I love getting to know other people. It's why I'm so one of the reasons I'm so passionate about my job is I get to meet new people every semester and every year. And then some of the same ones come back to my classroom. And one of them was so cute. He came in and he was like, Miss, why didn't you teach like this last year? And he was like, I like how you teach this way. And I was like, because that was world geography. And, I just gave y'all worksheets. Y'all were freshmen. I said, this is the upper level, sociology, psychology. I teach you a little different. And he was like, I like it. I said, good. And so, now I have some repeat students that I had before that liked me, but they didn't necessarily like the work. But now, they're getting engaged because the topics are a lot more fun when you talk about sociology and psychology versus world geography can be interesting, but you have to have that kind of mindset to want to know about the world and study geography, where most of these kids do not. They don't. Some of them don't even know where United States is on a map. It's really hard teaching them. So it's a lot easier teaching them about life and what to expect in the future.
Yeah. And look, I'll just say this is like, there are instances, and I've had these in my life where I aligned with somebody, especially in my youth, like where me and somebody were like very even keel, like how we connected, the things that we did. A lot of the things that I was interested as a younger man. But then as I started to grow and develop, those things changed. That's like sometimes all of us, and even sometimes when we go into a relationship and we might have a lot of these commonalities, especially when we're young, you can start to grow in opposite directions and become opposite people by the time you get into your 40s. Like, things in your life change, and some people want to grow. Some people are happy and content in the way they are. And even two people that can go in a direction of growth, right? One can outgrow the other faster than the other, or they're going in just different directions of how they want to grow and expand their minds. So they change their values, and their beliefs really do cause an upheaval. And it's very difficult sometimes to recover from that. So it really does take a lot of in-depth work, not only with each other as a couple, but then how the communication goes, and just always being mindful of it and saying, okay, I want to celebrate your growth. I mean, you don't want to like hamper somebody for really trying to improve themselves. It just sucks sometimes that two people improve in different ways, right? And start to see what it is that they want. Somebody might have been, just as an example, might have been totally socially extroverted as a younger person, and then they start liking the fact that they like their quiet and their peace as they grow older, and the things change in their lives, and they go, okay, maybe I'm not so extroverted anymore. Maybe I'm a ambivert. I do a little bit, but I'm maybe a little bit more introverted than I used to be. So that person might grow, and the other person might have been the other way around. I mean, these kinds of relationships are out there all the time. I mean, people meet each other, and they're totally different. And yeah, you know what? I think the strong ones do the right thing. They invest the time in each other. They really work on thriving their relationship by investing in what their differences are, and as well as the compromises. I mean, I think all those things are pretty important and vital as far as like how you want to see yourself in the long term. I mean, because again, and when people start to change so quickly, right, it pretty much spells gloom and doom on the wall for somebody when they start realizing that and go, okay, this is not what I wanted, or this is not what I thought that this person was going to be. So it really just changes how your perspective on it again. And then what does it do? It takes you another trauma into a different relationship all of a sudden. Now you're like, oh my gosh, is this guy going to do it too? Or is this girl going to do it too? Is she the same way? Like it really does like help you starts putting a wall up for yourself to not allow yourself to be so open and vulnerable about it.
Yeah, I agree. And, your past trauma can affect your future relationships if you let it. And so a lot of people go into a new relationship expecting that person to be a certain way. And so you put up walls, or you set up boundaries. And boundaries are okay. It's okay to have a boundary. It's actually healthy to have a boundary. But sometimes people are afraid to pull any of those walls down too soon. They want to go real slow. Like, I got to stretch this out, for months sometimes before I know if they're actually the one for me. And so they'll wait and they'll wait. And sometimes they're just waiting to see if a red flag pops up, and they're looking for something bad to happen. Instead of just saying, hey, this person, is this person. Let me get to know this person. Let me have fun with this person. Sometimes the past trauma sneaks in and makes you think that they're going to do something wrong, and you can self-sabotage your entire relationship sometimes that way.
Yeah. And one of the cool things that we were mentioning at the beginning of the show is a lot of these thoughts that were coming in what we're talking about here in our discussion came up. We were watching a video. So one of the things that you just said that really made me remember was like the fact that, sometimes when people are like that and they really hold on to their strong values and their beliefs, right, they start making up things in their mind that haven't even happened, right? And they're willing to say, well, you know what, if I'm somebody like travels around the world, but she's a homebody, like this isn't going to work because she's not going to allow me to go travel. Like I'm going to have to start staying at home and just being locked down. And it's sometimes not the case. You don't know, you start making up these reasons, right? You start making up these reasons before they even happen as to why it won't work, right? You start talking yourself into saying, okay, this is why this is why I can't stay in this relationship. Even though that person might make you totally content and happy, that they're a really good person, right? But you sell yourself on the fact that, yeah, all their intention to do is to change me, right? So they fear it. They fear that change, and they walk away. They'll leave a perfectly good relationship behind and a perfectly good person, and then they just put another brick in the wall for themselves as far as how they move forward.
They're afraid of that commitment.
I was a big time where they fear the commitment. People literally base all their lives or live their lives basically on the fact that they can't commit. So it makes it even difficult for somebody to say, okay, I'm ready to live the rest of my life with this person. I've heard of people who, they'll spend a whole 20, 30 years. I know I was one of them, where they're like, hey, you guys have been together for so long. Are you married? And we're like, no, we're not married. And like, why aren't you married? You're like, well, then you start coming up with all these different reasons. And, when it comes down to the fact of just you being honest with yourself, it's usually internally why you can't commit. It was a problem with me from issues and traumas in past relationships and dealing with things. So yeah, it was very hard. It was very hard. And it's why, like I said, I when I started looking again to go out there and start finding somebody for myself, I knew that I had to have somebody that had a lot of key factors that were the same as mine, as in how I did things, how I believed, how I, the things that I value more than in my life, were pretty important. So I never really looked at the scope of people who were like different, because I just said that's not what I wanted.
Yeah. I used to, like, in the past, I would do that. I would get with people that were the opposite and thought that was I mean, they even had a song. What was that woman's name? I'm terrible with names. She was back in the 80s. She sang that Paula Abdul.
Opposites Attract.
Opposites Attract. And so I remember singing that song when I was young and thinking, I guess it just planted a seed that I thought I was supposed to be with the opposite. And I wasn't with somebody for that many years without getting married, but I did date a guy one time for 3 years, and he never said, I love you. So he couldn't even commit to the words. So, I did. I dated people that were the opposite, and it turned out not so great. Because I was, as when I was growing up, and part of my identity was to be an introvert. Like, I didn't say a whole lot. I thought a lot, but I didn't talk a lot. But when I turned about 25, I had lost 100 pounds, and I wanted to be a new person. I'd shed the weight. I looked completely different. I chopped my hair. I straightened it. That's when I went through my identity phase when I was about 25. And I changed everything. I dyed my hair. And I just didn't get any tattoos or piercings. But, one of these days, me and Gabe are going to get one.
Yes.
We're gonna get one together, because he's never had a tattoo.
No.
I don't have any tattoos, and so yeah, we're gonna get one together.
Yeah.
But I did everything else, when I was 25, and so I started college. So after I lost the weight, I had enough self-confidence and self-motivation to believe in myself. Not only that, like, I was scared, but my baby sister told me, you are smart. And I didn't believe it. I didn't think I was smart. I had lost the weight, but I didn't think I was smart. And so she told me I was smart. So I went back to school because of my sister. She said, take one class with me. I will help you. So we took a class together. It was a speech class. And I learned how to talk in front of people. And that was scary, because I had always gotten in front of a group. If I needed to say something for any reason, I would shake. And so I learned positive self-talk, which is amazing. So our teacher taught us positive self-talk. I learned that. I learned how to speak. I got my confidence. I learned my, my identity. I figured out that I could be extroverted. I practiced it. I started going up to random people, and I would be like, hey, I like your hair. And I would just say compliments. Or I'd carry some gum with me, and I'd pull out a piece of gum and be like, you want some gum? Like, hi, my name's Yvette. And I started introducing myself and being social. I taught myself how to do that. And eventually I became extroverted. I had friends. I would go out. I would, explore. I started traveling. I got invited on the infomercial 3 times, went to California 3 times. I was on up here, like going for it. I was going for my bachelor's and, doing all these things, and I knew who I was. And then I got married. And so a lot of it changed because my partner was the opposite from me. And so
Way
he
opposite.
was extroverted to an extent, but mostly just around close people. He didn't want to go out in crowds. He had social anxiety. So, I started to stay at home. I stopped talking to my friends. I stopped going out. I became more introverted again. And so I reverted back. I gained weight. A lot of things changed. And I felt like over time I was conforming to what he wanted, he wanted in a wife. And it wasn't, I was getting lost, so eventually, and COVID hits and I develop bipolar disorder. And so when that happened, my whole world changed.
Everything changed.
Entire life changed. And, after I developed it and I went on my high and then went on my low, I was stuck again and relearning who I was. I didn't know who I was anymore. Like I had gone from being, a college student, single mom, lost the weight, was on TV, had all these things. I even met Selena Gomez, and I had explored and, just did all these different things. And then bipolar hits. And after going through all of the episodes, the ups and the downs, then I had to figure out who I was again. And it was the strangest thing, but I had to relearn me.
Yeah.
I had to relearn who I was. I couldn't date anybody. I was single for a long time. I could not date anybody. I had to figure out who I was. I had to gain my stability. I went through another high and another low. So I had to do it all over again, figure out who I was. It was a lot of work.
So
A lot of work.
So here's an interesting thought about all of this. So, do you think that maybe and I don't know, this would be interesting to talk about with your exes, but like your ex thinks the same thing as like this person's changed. Like,
Oh yeah.
like that, they's like, this is not who I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. It's like, we always have it's always usually a one-sided perspective on these things. And I think there's always two sides to a story, and then the truth is somewhere in the middle. But that each one of us, like, I'm pretty sure my ex would have been like, oh my God, he just like flipped. And there are times where I look back at my life, and this is the thing about doing it on a live stream, right? And having it recorded. When you go back and watch, you do actually see yourself going, okay, I'm becoming a different person. I'm becoming the opposite now. Like, I'm the one becoming the one that's actually changing things in my life. Like, people fall into their lives of just living routine, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what makes you happy and you're comfortable with all of it. Because everything that we're talking about here, as long as you two are happy in how you like coexist with each other, then yeah, it can work between two people and being opposites. But sometimes, like I said, when you have similarities in the beginning, and that's the thing that drew you to that person, and all of a sudden your ideals change and you change, right? The whole fabric of how everything now existed, the whole like foundation of the relationship is no longer, stable. You're causing upheaval in their lives. And it kind of, it's always a different perspective to me, because I think, there were a lot of things that I didn't do right. And there's a lot of things that I did, and which has landed me here where I'm at right now. Yeah, I'm happier and I'm in a better place. But, introspectively looking back at it all, yeah, I knew that I started to become the other end of the magnet that repelled. Like, we were no longer drawn together. Our polar ends started to push each other apart. And I knew that I was going in another direction, and I was trying to find another, magnet to connect to. It was hard. It was hard though. That's the thing that I tell everybody. It's hard to realize it and make aware that you are changing, and that person that you're leaving behind. I mean, and I'm pretty sure they get hurt as well. It's not always easy to change. It's not always easy to become a polar opposite for somebody else, to become that individual that's not who you were 20 years ago. I'm not who I was 20 years ago. I'm proud that I'm not who I was 20 years ago. I'm glad. But yeah, I would always think what that must be like, and I would love to interview or even talk about it. And maybe not bring them on, but
What, all of our exes that lived in Texas?
Yes. Yeah, to find out and go, okay, this is, because they're
Mine would not come on.
of course, but they would look at it. It's a different. It's always a different perspective once you're out of it. Like once you're gone away from it, you can actually look at it and go, okay, whew, I did this wrong, or I did this right, or I could have done this better, or you look at those things and you tell yourself, right? I mean, that's the whole thing of like for me, it's not like wanting to live a life full of regrets, like to think about it. And that's my past, and I can't change it. I can't, even if I wanted to, time travel and go back and say, oh, I would do something differently. I'm content with where I'm at now, so I wouldn't want to. But it's still an area where you still can take a big lesson in life from it, and help it like shape you into who you're eventually going to be. I mean, that's the thing about being a lifelong learner and always trying to continually grow yourself.
Which is very interesting on growth, because I talk to my students about it, and they're high school students, and a lot of them are seniors and older. And we talked about that growth, that you can be a lifelong learner, that you can learn something every single day. You can learn something every day. And so I asked my students how they were going to grow this semester. And I had a senior that actually said, oh, it's my last semester. I don't want to learn anything. And that was his answer. And I put it on the board with all the other positive answers. And I said, guys, look at this. And I said, that's pretty sad. I said, no, if you stop learning, your brain is going to turn to mush. You can't stop learning. Like, your brain desires knowledge. The moment you stop learning, there's going to be a problem. Like, you've got to keep on learning. Learning is so important to do every day.
Yeah. But it's been pretty, I think doing a lot of these discussions and even having all the technical difficulties and the things that have been happening, I think it's still pretty important for us to talk about it, because this is part of what we want to do in developing our shows, to have these kind of conversations. And sometimes it's just going to be us that are going to be talking about situations. And then there's going to be times that we're going to want interjections coming from the audience. And we want everybody to be a part of it and be participatory. Is that the word? Is that a word?
Participation. We want participation.
Yes, we want participation. I was trying to make my own word up there. I don't know if it's real, but if it's not, I've just coined something. But yeah, we do want people to give us their feedback and, be a part of what it is that we're creating. I've always thought it was pretty important. And as we're going along this path too, I mean, we're taking lessons from each other, and each time we have these conversations. The fun part for me has been sitting down and doing the research with her. Like, we watched the video last night and we had good laughs. It was good chuckles. It was good times to be able to spend time with her in learning this, right? Because if
we're gonna keep learning this, we're not experts. We're trying to just learn more knowledge and then give you guys what we learn, and what we learn through experiences with each other and our past experiences.
Right now, we're just two people in love, and we're trying to just figure out how to get better at it. I think everybody, and to be honest, everybody sucks at love. At some point in your life, you suck at it. You just do. It's not natural for everybody to say, yeah, I'm so good at loving another person. I watch videos of people who've been together for like 50 years and they're together for like 42, and there's people that are together
And some of the comments they say, like some of them, the guy says, well, it's because she's always right. But he says it with a tone. Like, so you mean you just suffered this whole time and just let your woman be right about everything? And that's how you stayed with her. So were you truly happy? Did you really love her? Like, what is the key to longevity of not just why you stayed with her, just to put up with her, but is it love? Did you really love her? And I saw a cute video the other day with a couple, and they said it was, I think their either grandson or somebody was asking them, how they were able to stay together so long because they were older. And she starts talking first, and she goes, well, when we were young and when we were, they had gone to college together, they had different roommates that lived close by because they had, I guess, the married section. And there were people that were always arguing, always fighting, couples that were just fighting. So they looked at each other and they agreed that they never wanted to fight like that they always were going to make an effort to be kind to one another, to be kind, to be nice, to be sweet. And then she was like, I'm not that good at it. I try to be, but I try to always be nice, but he's much nicer than me. And then he starts talking and he goes, no, honey, you're the nice one. You're so nice. And they're just like talking about how nice they are because it was something that they agreed to do, to always love each other. And so one of the things that me and Gabe agreed is that we don't ever want to end the honeymoon phase. Like, why? Just because someone says, oh, it's the honeymoon phase. You don't have to end it. You get to choose your own movie script. And so I told him, we're not ending it. It's going to be the honeymoon phase forever.
Yes, and forever's a mighty long time. As they say, the Prince song, right? Is that? Yeah, it comes from. Anyway, yes, but and even when we're saying the honeymoon phase and it's going to last, we're not naive. Okay, we're not naive to understand that it's going to take some work and commitment from the both of us, though, to make that continually how we want to feel in our relationship. Because when you stay like, hey, we're just going to be this way forever, well, of course, the realities of life tend to seep in and you start seeing those things. Well, my thing is, go ahead and let them in, but let's continue to do the other thing as well. Like, make the time for that like you would in the very beginning. I mean, when in the very beginning, you make time for, you find time all of a sudden. You could say your schedule is booked. You could say, oh man, I'm just locked up with time. I'm just so busy. I don't have the time. I don't know if I can find the time to do that, especially when it's something you don't want to do. But yet you could meet somebody and all of a sudden you're seeing that person 2, 3, 4 times a week. And you're like, okay, where was this time? Where did you magically find this extra time all of a sudden in your life and allow it to come in? It's because it was something that you truly wanted and desired and you wanted to go after. So you made the committed effort to do it. It's the same mindset of why people say this is how the billionaires and millionaires do it, right? They do the things to find that extra time that's in your day. We all have it. It's just whether or not we utilize it. And when you're in love, it becomes pretty easy to utilize it. You have this deeper motivation to go want to, right? You're going to make sure, hey, I'm going to work out and I'm going to work out for an hour and that's it. And I'll go home because I want to go take a shower and go see my girl, right?
So you make the time, and then not only do you make the time, but when you're with that person, you're with that person. Because I know there was a few people at the honeymoon mindset, yes. So there was a few people at my school. We were all talking about New Year's resolutions. And so some of the teachers were kind of saying what some of theirs were, like a principal said it and Another one said it, and they said, be more mindful, not be on my phone scrolling or looking at emails or, doing all this stuff when I'm with my family. And I'm like, yeah, that's so important. That is the most annoying thing. Oh, it bothers me so much. It's one of my pet peeves when you're talking to somebody and they're sitting there on their phone scrolling from video to video, text to text, email, whatever, and you're trying to have a conversation with them. They don't make eye contact and they're looking at their dang phone. I don't put up with it with my students. I'm definitely not going to put up with it in a relationship. And so I did for way too long. So now, so all phones go down. It's eye contact, and it's amazing eye contact because he's got gorgeous eyes. So we make eye contact and we talk and we look at each other and we're close, we're intimate, and we make sure we take the time and we do that at some point in the day. He even comes to see me twice a week, as long as his van doesn't break down like it did today. But he comes to see me at work twice a week. And comes to see me, and we just talk for my whole lunch break. And then I go back to work. And what's cool is it's modeling it for students. Because even my students, some of the girl students, are like, relationship goals right there. Relationship goals. I want a man to take the time to come see me. And I'm like, yeah. I said, when you want that in a relationship, you have to make sure that person understands that that's what you want in a relationship. Don't settle for second best. Don't settle for someone who is mean, who is rude. I gave out cards to my students and I told them they could ask me anything. I said, ask me anything. And I got 2 questions about relationship advice. And so I was able to answer their questions today. And one of the questions was on, well, I'm fighting a lot with my boyfriend. We argue all the time. Is that healthy? Should I stay in the relationship? And I'm thinking, I need to address this because these kids are young. And so I talked to the whole class. I said, it may not be a kid in this class. I said it could be in another class, but I had some important questions that I think all of y'all need to hear the answer to. And so I said it and I talked to them about it, and communication is so, so, so important. And I told them, like, it depends on what you're arguing about. What is it that's bothering you guys? Is it something that you can solve, or is it something about control? Is he trying to say things that you should and shouldn't do, and you're mad at him and you're arguing about that, and he's trying to control you? And if so, that's a red flag, honey. Like, you don't want to be with somebody that's already trying to control you, and you're still a kid and figuring out who you are. All of you guys need to understand and learn how to develop your own identity apart from somebody else. And so if you haven't discovered that yet, then maybe this relationship is not for you. You've got to figure out who you are, how to make yourself happy before you can be with anybody else. And if somebody is sitting there arguing with you all the time, no, that's not necessarily a healthy thing at all.
And I think, and what I would really love to hear and just have the opportunity to see if there's anybody out there later on, that you don't have to right now, but maybe in the comments after this show or somewhere down the line, like, are you in a relationship with somebody who's your like polar opposite? I mean, have you found yourself ever in one of those situations where you were just so drawn to somebody, yet they're like everything that you're not, and you feel like, oh my God, this is what I didn't know what I wanted, but it was here, and it happens to you, right? That's the crazy thing about love. It does, it doesn't always go the way that you expect it to, or how you decided to want to go. Sometimes it happens in the least likely of circumstances. I mean, so that's interesting for me.
Yeah, and are you happy? Is it working, or are you struggling with it?
Yeah, because it usually has a tendency to show more of the differences that start happening, and those things become issues further along as it goes, because again, you are different, right? If somebody just is, for example, in their finances, like, hey, I don't worry about my bills. I don't worry about You know, I don't worry about my paycheck. I don't worry about any of that. I just like spending money. Like I go buy whatever I want, spend it on whatever I want. And you have somebody who's budget conscious on the other side and, you know, knows how to penny pinch and really likes to bite down. And, you know, those two of those people get together, there's going to be a point where like they're going to fight. Even if everything else is great, like even if the sex is great, the intimacy is great, the sometimes when they're together, what they watch and what they talk about, but yet that comes into play. Yeah, that's going to be a very big problem as they go along, because as you start to grow together and you start to come and form a foundation for hopefully a long-term relationship or a marriage, like those things become important, and that's where you have to really sit down and have the communication. That's where you really have to also sit down and have the compromises sometimes, because you can't be like, I can't live a lifestyle sometimes of where every penny that I have in my life is counted for, right? Like this is it. You only get $40 and that's all you can spend. And then you have somebody like I've never had.
We both like Temu too much.
Yeah. That too. Like, oh my gosh. Well, she was the one that got me turned on to it. So like, I didn't know that I liked it. So that was another cool experience. She's like, oh, have you ever heard of Temu? And I said, no, what is this? And she started showing me all this stuff. So then I just started ordering stuff off of there. I got cat glasses, all kinds of stuff. Just crazy stuff. I mean, some of them were cool. I mean, I got a little mic stand that I order off of there, so I'm going to try it out and see if it works. Maybe on the next stream I will try that out. But yeah, but I love the fact that we both know we're very similar in how we want to develop our lives and what we want to start, what we've already started building foundationally, and what's going to go forward. Which makes our journey a little bit more easier sometimes, I feel. I mean, just in my opinion, it's I don't know if it's fact, but to me, it does feel easier to love her. Like, I don't feel like I have all these pressures. I don't feel like I have all these burdens. It's been pretty easy to be with her. And, you know, sometimes people will bash that, though. People will bash that. Say, if it's too easy to be with her, it's not going to work, because, you know, you got to have hard, you know, things in life sometimes are hard. You're gonna have a hard life, and the hard work that goes into it, right? You hear everybody talk about the hard work you got to put into marriage.
It's work.
It's work.
You got to put in lots of work.
Well, my thing is, I already work 8 hours at one job. Why the hell do I want to work, you know, for the other 16? Like, to me, that's not worth it. Like, it shouldn't have to ever feel that way. You shouldn't have to say, "Oh my gosh, I feel like it's a job every day," right?
It's a struggle.
Struggle
yeah.
love. There you go. You know, struggle love. Right? That's difficult. That's difficult to sit there and go, "This is my life every day." Like, there will become a light bulb moment where you're like, "I don't want to live this way," right? And then you start mentioning it to that your partner, your spouse. Like, then it becomes a thing where it might become the straw that broke the camel's back, and you both look at separation and divorce as the only means of, you know, living your life at that point, and it sucks.
Like when you have to schedule things, like, okay, at 6 o'clock we're gonna have our talk. You know, at 8 o'clock, that's when we'll have sex.
Yeah.
You know, when you have to schedule things and you have to work it into a calendar, no. Like, I think love just comes and you just give it. You give it freely. You share it. You share your love whenever you want to. If you want to have that conversation, you grab their hand and say, okay, let's go to the couch and talk. You know, when you want to kiss that person, you wrap your arms around them and you kiss them. It's not, you know, something that you have to, in my opinion, I don't know. I just don't like the word work.
Yeah, I don't either.
Like the word work. I like the word love.
I do. Yeah, I don't like the other 4-letter word. No, that one there.
I don't feel like it's work. I feel like it's amazing.
It should feel that way. To me, that's the way it should be. When I sit there and when I would lay there in my bed and say, what do I visualize love to be like? this is what I imagined it. I didn't imagine it of me like, oh my God, I'm going to have to worry about what I have to do to please her, or what are the things, or like, or what are the chores that I'm going to have to do just because that's what she needs. Like all those things, I was like, no, I don't want to have to work 2 jobs. You know, one job I'm at least getting paid for. The other one, the other one is just it. There are good things that can come out of it, but man, I don't want to have to work for it. Not that I'm lazy. I just don't want to have to say, okay, I'll come home from work mentally exhausted or tired, and then have to come back and do more work.
Yeah, and then too, I was in a very short term relationship, but I started to go hang out at this guy's house, and I remember, one time he rubbed my shoulders, and so we were watching a movie or something. He was rubbing my shoulders, and then all of a sudden he stops and he goes, "Me next."
Mm.
And then he gets up and starts to sit on the ground so that I can get behind him and start to rub his back. And it was like, okay, so you just rubbed my shoulders with the full, your purpose was to do it real quick so that I could rub yours. Yeah, I'll rub your shoulders. I had done it before without just it was spontaneous. I rubbed his shoulders. I never do it expecting anything back. I would just do it. And, when he finally decided to rub my shoulders, it was all me next. And so I had to get ready to do it. And it was like everything there was a scorecard for everything. If I did something for you, then I'm expecting something in return. And that's not how love is. Love isn't where you do something for somebody and you automatically want a payback, like immediately that night. And so what I love about Gabe is, sometimes he'll just randomly rub my back or my feet. And he has never said me next.
Me next or anything like that.
Never. And I've rubbed his back and his head and put him to sleep. And I'm not like, honey, wake up. It's my turn. We don't do that to each other. It's like in the moment you're showing your love, but you're not expecting a payback. And I think that's so important with love, is not to expect somebody to do something. Now, if you're right with the right person, they're just going to do it. They're going to do it, and you don't have to expect it or keep score on it.
No, and real quick before we go further, let me just say hello to Mr. Bill Bradford watching over there on LinkedIn. I do apologize, man.
Yes, absolutely. I was talking to my students today when it came to parenting, but there should be, and I talk about love too, but the book that we read, the one by Leo Biscaglia, he basically told the university that he wanted a class on love. And they looked at him like he was crazy. But he decided to teach a class about love. And so that's where he writes the book from. It's like a compilation of all of the classes that he taught. So it was a class on love. The book is amazing. But that's where, I got some of my new knowledge on love is from that book. But when it comes to parenting, there are some classes on parenting in high school, but you have to be pregnant to be in it, which sucks. Are you trying to find the book one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the book one.
That's
Leo
book
Biscaglia. So when it comes to, love, this is a great book by Leo Biscaglia. If you don't like the scene you're in, if you're unhappy, if you're lonely, if you don't feel like things are happening, change your scene. And then it also, that's part of the quote, love is bestowed as a gift. And you should give it without any expectation. We don't have to love to be loved. And so that came from the book. You love without the expectation.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not a lot of classes on love. There should be. So I bring it up in my class. And then when it comes to parenting, a lot of it is through theories. And so psychologists that have studied, and took a look at how kids learned behavior, and Jean Piaget talks about, the cognitive way that kids develop. And then Eric Erickson is one of my favorites that talks about the psychosocial ways of people developing. And so, I talked to him today. It was today because it was my psychology class. But when it comes to the first stage of development, that's trust versus mistrust. And we talked about that on another show when we talked about, can you spoil a baby by picking him up? Which is no, you have to pick them up, especially when they're crying. And then two, the second stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt. And so I told him the story about my daughter who, and this stage is usually between the ages of 2 to 3. So this is when children learn to start exploring, when they start looking at the world, when they pick up something and wonder, what is it? And so their brain's developing, but they're also kind of looking to you to say, yeah, can I do this? Can I do whatever it is that I'm doing? And so they look to you for approval. And so they look, well, can I start this activity? Can I do this activity? So my daughter, she picked up a bottle of nail polish, and I didn't know, what had happened, but I walked into the living room, and this is my daughter, Skylar, who's now 24. So I'm walking into the living room, and I see nail polish droppings all over my carpet, all over the couch. And I look at her, and she's still holding the bottle of nail polish. And I said, honey, where did you get that? And then she looks at me and she smiles and she hands me the nail polish. And I didn't yell at her. She's a baby. And so I look at her, but I asked my students, what do you think I did? And they're like, man, she got in trouble. You probably spanked her or you yelled at her, whatever. And so they're thinking that I did something like that because I'm sure they got in trouble doing something like that when they were kids. And so I said, oh, let me see that. And then I noticed that she had tried to paint every single nail, all of her fingers, all of her toes. There were splotches everywhere. So she wasn't trying to destroy my living room. She was just trying to be artistic. She was trying to learn how to paint her nails. And so I complimented her and I said, good job, baby. And so I told, my class this story, and I said, well, what do you think happened? She never learned shame and doubt. So a baby or a toddler, between the ages of 2 and 3, learns how to take that initiative. They start to become, explore the world. And so if they are yelled at, if they are told no, if they're spanked for doing something like that, then they learn to doubt themselves. They learn shame, to be shameful and to doubt. And that seed gets planted early in life and it can affect you into the future. And so I told him, because I taught that to her, she became autonomous. She learned how to, and later on learn how to become creative. And she never self-doubted. She thought, I can do this. So this child has started off in school with making pottery. She can make candles. She can sew and make outfits. She learned how to knit blankets, and then she learned how to crochet. She made the hat that I'm
She's wearing today.
She made me for Christmas a big owl out of crochet yarn, real soft yarn. She can make quilts. She can make blankets. This child, whatever you put in front of her, she can do. She doesn't doubt herself. She is a very strong woman. So a lot of that comes from how you're raised.
Yeah.
But yeah, people should get parenting classes, and they don't. So they should take psychology. That's another option, because I go over it over and over. And this is only day 2 of class, and we've been talking about it.
Yeah. So what was that?
Why was that instinctive? Okay, so because one, I love kids, and I loved my baby, and I was scared. I was screamed at when I was a kid. Okay. When I did something wrong, my mom yelled. I remember my mom being a screamer, and I got in trouble a lot. I got spanked. I got sent to the corner. A lot of the discipline that I got, it was a lot of it was screaming and stuff. And so I told myself when I became a mom that I never wanted to scream. And so I made every effort in the world. I think I only screamed in front of my daughter maybe 2 times out of her growing up. And she can remember those 2 times. She was older, but she remembers them. And so other than that, I didn't. I held it back. And so when I saw it, I just was curious. I was like, how did she get it? I was thinking, how did she get a hold of the nail polish? Why is it on the floor? Like, what was she doing? And so, then I saw the spots. And then when I saw her fingers, my heart melted. I was like, oh, my baby was painting her nails. And it just, it softened any type of anger that it might have been surfacing. It was gone immediately because I saw what she was doing. I wanted to know. I was curious about what she was doing. And I didn't want to startle her, and I didn't want to scare her. But I hadn't taken psychology yet. I didn't even know that was a stage of development. I had no idea. I had never gone to school other than high school. So I started learning more when she was 4, when I facilitated parenting classes. So I started taking these classes on how to be a better parent. And I did it so that I could facilitate classes for people that had gone to either jail, or they'd been on probation, or the court, for some reason, CPS got involved and took their kids away from them. So they had to take these parenting classes to get their kids back. So I learned the material and facilitated those classes because I knew I wanted to be a teacher, but I wanted experience first. So I began facilitating these classes and I don't even know if I ever told you about that, babe.
No, I mean, I'm that's why I'm listening. I'm like learning this. It's like, okay.
Yeah, my Skylar was about 4 when I did that. So I started learning how to be a better parent, and that helped tremendously. And then when I went back to college, when I started taking classes in college, psychology was interesting. So I took that, and then I took developmental psychology twice. And so I just started trying to refine, my parenting and get better. But it was instinctive for me initially because I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to be a screaming parent ever.
I don't think any of us want to really. I mean, unless you get enjoyment out of it. I really don't. I'm like, I don't like to yell, scream, at the top of my lungs to get a point across. I mean, I try to want to do it more logically, right? So that you can see if they have understanding of what you're trying to tell them. I think the moment you do, there's like a switch in their brain. It just shuts off whatever you're telling them. And I'm like, okay, I'm just getting yelled at right now.
Yeah.
Like, they're not really constructively taking in what you're telling them. And it's just better sometimes if you say, okay, let's not yell. Let's make this a learning moment for both of us.
Yeah. It traumatized me, I think, when I was a kid, just being yelled at so much, as well as my siblings. We don't like it. We don't like being around. When someone yells, it makes me cry. So I don't like being around screamers. So, even as a teacher, I raised my voice I think it was 1 time, maybe 2 times, but 1 time specifically that I remember. And I remember all of the teachers in the hallway heard me. And when I went into the break room, they started clapping. And they clapped for me and they said, "Welcome to being a teacher. Like, congratulations. You're a teacher now." Because I yelled. And I thought, you know what? If I have to yell at the students, I'm not going to like my job. I'm going to hate my job. I don't like to yell. I don't like it. And so I decided from that point on, I was going to figure out a different way to start my classes and to have, develop relationship with students. And I'm 14 years later. I have a class full of students that do not get on their cell phones. They do not have on their earbuds. They put everything away. They're engaged in the conversation. They listen to me. They have fun. They a lot of times tell me it's their favorite class, and I get kids talking that have never talked before. So when you learn what you're good at, that's what I like that sign that we had up earlier, but
Yep.
love what you do.
Love what you do.
When you love what you do, you can make a better impact on people. And so it's
Kind of hard to see there, folks, but that's what
yeah.
it is. Love what you do.
So that's why I really fell in love with Gabe, because I loved what he did too, and I loved his mission and his calling, and it aligned with mine. So
Yeah, and that's what we're doing here now. That's why we're doing an hour and a half live stream with you.
wow,
But look,
the time goes by fast
that's
with
what
you, baby.
I'm telling you. Like to me that was the selling point that I would use when I have guests on. Because I'm telling you, they're like, it's an hour though. I don't know if I can do an hour. And I tell them, I promise you, this will be the fastest hour you've ever done. By the time you're done, you'll be like, oh my God, we just did an hour and it was talking. So yeah, I mean, this is what I'm passionate. This is what I love doing. And then interjecting the things that we're going to be discussing about love and just different areas and topics about it. It's going to be a fun ride. Actually, it's going to be a really fun ride. And, we haven't even gotten to the part where we start talking and introducing like guests too. That's going to be like a whole nother ball game when we bring people in, because like, not only do I love to pelt questions, I'm pretty sure she will too. And like, she's really inquisitive about it. She does it every day. I mean, come on. If you want to talk about practice, she gets practice every day asking questions to students and knowing what to do when they have that deer in the headlights look. Like, well, you freeze for a moment. You're like, okay, breathe. Let me see, breathe. It'll be okay. And then we'll go from there.
And hi, Dr. Chung.
Yes.
Who is that?
So she is over on LinkedIn. She's someone I've just recently connected with. I believe was through Mike Asherbrainer's show. So something along those lines. But I think as we go forward, things will get a little bit easier, better. We're still playing around with these things as far as like how we're doing setups and everything. So it will eventually get to where we're at peak in what we're doing, and we'll know exactly how we want to format it. But that's the whole point of trying these things. Is like it's one thing to say that we're going to do it. It's another thing to actually start putting it to action, and then it's the next step. The next phase is like actually developing the chemistry and structure for what we want to do going forward. I think that's what we're playing with right now. It doesn't help that like a lot of like we're having the social media issues. LinkedIn has been terrible. So I'm going to look at like re-strategizing and approaching how we're going to start doing this, because, you do ultimately want to get a message out, and it's really hard to do it whenever any of the platforms or anything, you can't get any kind of traction on there because of something you can't control. Like I can't control what happens with LinkedIn and their comments and their mobile app, and how people have just like, everybody's pretty much bailed on it. It's been hard. Arm and away. Yes. So we do have one. I think about getting, so you traded your mic arm with the mic stand. It's a fire brick. It works better by not having the arm in a way with my new monitors and desk. Okay. Thank you. That's Jaime. So Jaime's watching right now at 10 o'clock. Thank you. You missed the first hour and a half, so go back and watch that part and then catch up when you get over. Just kidding with you. You don't have to do that. So yeah, we're still in development, and one of the, like tonight we had a few glitches, and we've been having glitches here all night. This is the part of it. Like she might not notice it right away, but I'll point out to her what they were, as we move along. But they'll get to a point where she'll be pretty good at doing this. Oh, where's the replay? I fell asleep and missed it. Also, it's probably a good thing as I fell for someone who was completely opposite to me, and then that was too a fail. Oh no, Sarah! My gosh.
Hi, Sarah. So yeah, we were talking about opposites earlier, and how, people, especially I think when you're younger, you get attracted to someone who's opposite from you. Hi, Jaime. So you get attracted, and there's certain qualities and reasons why. Maybe you're introverted and they're extroverted, and it feels like they complete you. But then, as you go on, you either learn to compromise, you learn to get on the same ground, or you're just too different and you fall apart and it doesn't work. And that's what happened in my last relationships, where I was opposite from the person, and same thing. It was a fail. It was a fail. I had multiple fails. It never really worked for me when I was the opposite. Now, sometimes it does work for people. So we'd love to hear from people that it
Well, like
actually
even
works and how
yeah,
you
so
make it work.
so even like what Jaime here is saying, he's saying his spouse is definitely opposite of him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I think it goes back again to what the things that we also said is the key is communication, like really understanding and celebrating those differences between you, and then ultimately like also taking the time to figure out where you can grow and compromise together. I think those are very, very important things as well, because you don't involve those in your lives. It is like it's almost written on the wall that it's going to not work. And that's the hard part about it. Sometimes when you fall in love and you think you have a really good person, is that you don't you don't give yourself the opportunity to fully experience love with that person because you're too focused on the opposite parts of who you are and then how you live and then what your values and beliefs are. So it can be a hard slippery slope to have to face, but it does work for some people. Just saying.
I'm sorry, Jaime. That's hard. That's difficult and hard, and
Well, I'm hoping he's saying that jokingly. I hope he's not being truthful
I'm not
about that.
taking anything as joking anymore.
I'm hoping he's saying that that she'll upgrade too once the kids go to college. So I will also tell her. Oh, I will also tell her if she finds Mr. Moneybags, just tell she comes to baggage and the
kids, and I will move in the backyard.
Oh my God. Oh, wait a minute. It's almost about that time. Come on in. It's time
Lucas
for the
has to make
It's the Lucas lean in.
his presence known.
Come
on, Lucas.
There he is. A little bit lower, Lucas, this time. There he goes. There you go. That's you've got your Lucas lean in for the night. I think we've done that just about every night that we've done this. Lucas has kind of leaned in. I think I'm going to make my own sounder for it.
My brother might. I don't know. He might be scared.
Yeah. But I might make a sounder for it and its own like little intro thing. Dun, 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 then Lucas lean in and then he walks in and he just leans in and he's like, hey, and he walks. Nothing else in the show except for that. It's I don't know. It's always fun to have a little.
Be like Spot the Lucas.
Yeah.
You got to watch the whole show to see when Lucas is gonna appear.
Maybe that's a game show we put on there at one point. Hey, at what point did you find Lucas in the live stream?
There will be a prize.
There'll be a prize. We got it from Temu. That's what you're gonna win.
Yeah, a little toothpaste holder.
Hey, you know what?
Nice
That's actually not.
It was a hot item during the White Elephant gift exchange.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Like to give gifts away. It's a gift. You give it away for just tuning in. So yeah, and I think poor Sarah. So like, where was it at? Her comment. She was trying to watch on Facebook. The stream isn't working on Facebook. She just probably found it on the post and was looking for the replay. So I got to go back and like, I don't know, put it in there and so that people can start following it. Cause I don't know when I'm going to get this figured out. I am determined to get it figured out, but like it should be rolling really good on Facebook and it's not. And then it should be rolling good on LinkedIn and it's not. So
Jen
it's just,
popped on for a second. Is she still watching?
No.
She said there's only 16 seconds.
Yeah.
Only 16 seconds. We saw her comment and then We didn't see her comment anymore.
Yeah, it
it's
stopped
not
working. I don't
She has to
know.
go to YouTube to watch it.
So we're trying to figure out why it keeps doing that. So it's just it sucks.
Yeah.
So, but that's the point. See, it says stop. It shows me like Facebook. So I'm going to have to probably delete my Facebook from on here on Ecamm and just put it through make sure everything goes to Restream, because what it's doing is it's launching that event from here. And I know this is technical garbage, but sounds so technical. Yeah, it sounds so technical, but just trying to explain it. So from here, from the software itself, it launches, and I'm actually using the third-party system to stream it out and push it out to 5 different locations at the same time. It's all supposed to be going through there, but essentially it's taking 4 of them, pushing them out there, and then pushing this one separately, and it's not actually connecting to my Facebook page. And problem is, I don't think I have permissions allowed for this software to actually stream to my channel. So I don't know. It's technical stuff, like I said, and it's gobbledygook for some of you. And
we're trying to get the kinks out before it's official.
Because when we make the announcement, and we'll start doing it on the regular, and then plus we'll be recording it sometimes too as as a podcast. So we're gonna have exclusive podcast episodes, and then we're also gonna have some live streams that you guys can also be a part of. But we do want to turn this into a podcast as well, and just have people who may not want to watch a live stream take in the auditory part and just listen to a podcast and build it upon there as well. Oh my God. So
yes.
So I don't know. But I'm gonna say this. It's been fun. Like I think all of these moments that we've spent together, they've been pretty fun. I think they're doing a pretty good job of like bringing us closer. We get to share, and like even tonight, I learned something. Tonight.
I know, because we're still getting to know each other. I mean, can't learn everything about somebody in 1 or 2 days. I know that's how some relationships start, where you're on the phone for hours and hours and you're sleep deprived, and you talk and you talk and you talk and you talk. And then before you know it, like, you don't have anything to say. So the way me and Gabe do it is we just have conversations every day, and then all of a sudden something comes up that maybe we didn't know about each other, and then we learn something new. So we kind of just learn more and more about each other as time goes on. And I don't think we consciously like decided that's how we were going to have our relationship, but that's how it's worked out. Like, I don't think we've ever binge talked on the phone.
No.
No, we always went to bed at a decent hour.
Decent times. And, part of it, though, was like we wanted to do it in person. Like, I think once we started doing it in person, I mean,
yeah.
I think the most we spent apart from each other has been 2 days. Like, that's
2 days solid.
2 days solid.
Away from each other.
That was hard.
And we've been together about 10 months now.
So, yeah. So, even on my weekends before I introduced her to the kids, like, my weekends I would just spend, Friday and Saturday with my kids, and then Sunday, once I took them back home, I'd come back to come and see her. So yeah, those things have kind of changed. But again, we're still even now living together, and what this is like and how our lives are starting to form here. I mean, we're still learning about each other. And I think that's, for me, the thrilling part about it is that I still got things to learn about her, and she's still got things to learn about me. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit fun doing this live and then doing it recorded, because we're gonna have a lot of conversations, and I think that's what I've always wanted, is just to have somebody to conversate with.
Yes, me too.
Like, I would,
it's fun. It's exciting, and the quiet, like, enjoying the silence too, because yes, talking is fun and having those conversations is fun, and I love it so much, but just learning to enjoy the silence without thinking, oh my God, why isn't he saying something? What is he thinking? Is he thinking something bad? Is he, and then putting all these negative thoughts and ideas in your head. I'm sure lots of people do that. And so that's why they can't ever shut up. It's like they just talk all the time, 24/7. And then they want to know what you're thinking when you're quiet. Like, I like to be quiet sometimes. I like silence sometimes. And sometimes I just like to think. And then all of a sudden I want to talk again. And then I want to think. And he's very similar to that. So I don't know. We click in so many ways, but enjoying the silence is so important too, to just enjoy those moments.
Yes. And just real quick. Thank you, Yolanda, for sharing that.
Yes.
We are trying to do our best. That's what we do here. And we are theoretical and applied learning is what we're doing here.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good way to say that. Thank you.
Yes. We'll take that. Might make it the mantra.
Yeah,
Theoretical
and
applied
a
learning.
lot of the theories that I know about have just been through repetition, just talking about them in the classroom, bringing them up, learning about it, relearning, always wanting to know something new, even because I'm working on my master's right now in sociology. And so dramaturgy was one of the new theories that I learned as a social theory. So there's lots of social theories that are out there. But dramaturgy just made so much sense, and it was so fascinating to me how people can put on this show and this act in front of others. They put on this show and this act in front of others, and it's not their true self. It's
No.
not. And who you are on the inside usually comes out when you're at home. But some people, and I don't think everybody puts on that act and puts on that show. And I think that if you can live stream and be yourself and then be at home and be yourself, that's how Gabe is. And that's what I've learned. Like everything that he's put himself out there and talked and, did this stuff, he's the same at home when the cameras are off. He's the same person, and that's how I am. And that's how I want to be, is how I am in the classroom, is how I am at home, is how I am as a parent. I don't change my identity based on who I'm around. But a lot of people do. They put on a show for work. They put on a show for their relationship. They put on a show to get a date. They, put on a show everywhere. And life is all about this acting show, and you get to choose your actors. So
there you go. Well, this is fun. Thank you so much, Mr. James Kunkel. Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in over on YouTube. I am trying to, I guess what I would have to do is start doing is like trying to guide all my people over to the YouTube channel, because we're not having any luck on LinkedIn. And once I figure out my Facebook issue, I know we'll have more people there as well that can tune in and watch, because we do want to get this out to as many places as we can, to as many people as we possibly can. That's the objective. But yeah, I mean, we're going to sit down and talk. Like I said, it's still a development. She hasn't experienced yet. You guys have, I think, a few of you have, like the fun of doing like the live call-in show too. I mean, we have
what's that?
So
people call in and then they talk?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So imagine your old school radio show. Right?
Ooh, fun.
So we've had people like call in. And maybe I have to get either a Google number or another. Just I
have a Google number.
I bought a 1-800 number too at one point.
I have a Google
but
number.
It was a number that I gave out so that people could call, and I do have the ability to answer.
Yeah, I told him to stop giving out his real number, because that's kind of creepy. Like just having random people. You never know what kind of stalker could get your personal information and come find you.
I know. Well, for when I was solo though, when I was by myself, I was like, you know what? I do want a stalker though. That makes me kind of status goes up high when you're like, hey, listen, I got a stalker now. Like, oh my God, you've moved up a level. Like you're now really a true entertainer. When you get one of those, you're like next level. I'm just kidding, folks. Don't stalk me, please. Don't stalk me. But yeah, we'll find a Google number that we will put it.
1-800 Unwrap Love.
There you go. If I get that one, I'll seal it up, and people can just call in, and especially when we have topics, it's regarding to. Now that I have a partner, like I can have her actually answer the phone and
hello,
answer the phone off the air first. And then hey, okay, so-and-so is calling in, and then we can bring in the question so that we're not totally caught off guard.
Cool. So we can be like a real radio station.
Yes, we can. We can do that here. We got Jeopardy music. I got it all. I mean,
Nice.
we haven't explored the full power of what the capabilities are, but this is the fun thing. This is what I'm telling you guys, is that we want to still keep the fun, energetic level of what I'm always done and what I've used to, but then also have like really meaningful, serious topics that we can also bring together, marry it together. There you go, marry it together, so we can create a show that I've always thought about and envisioned, and have the partner now to do it with.
And when we get married, I want to go live.
What else do I got to say? I mean, come on. I've convinced her to say,
cool.
what I've convinced her to live stream our wedding. You know, it's like, thank you, God. Finally, makes sense. But yeah, we will, there's still a lot of things on the horizons, but we have been having so much fun, and, it will get better, and we will get more, intentional with some of the things we do. I mean, we are learning and having fun and talking about these things with you guys, and hopefully we're bringing value to you. That's the thing that I want to make sure that
Yes,
you guys
Yolanda, we will.
that we can all be. Yes, that's right. You don't have to fly in. I don't have to send out 9,000 invitations to the followers. We can just live stream it, and then you can. Yeah, we'll put our Cash App or whatever on there if you want to donate to the wedding. To our wedding fund. Like, hey, here we go. This is the wedding fund. Scan that QR code right there, and you can directly donate to the wedding itself. And we'll even put your name on the invitation and on the end credits.
Yes.
Like, shout out to so and so. So I don't know. We'll figure something out. But yeah, we've been doing this now for almost 2 hours, guys. We won't match our 3-hour limit like we did the other day.
3 hours.
Yeah, we did
it for 3 hours.
Yeah, almost.
Oh, dang.
Remember when Naomi showed up? We started.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a long one.
That was a long one. We almost did a 3-hour show. We've done 2 hours tonight, so I'm just telling you that's how fast you can actually. These things can actually go quicker than you think. So, but we will be back. Not this weekend. We will be back next week on Tuesday. I will plan and create an event for Tuesday and maybe Thursday. And then the following weekend, we will have the audio chat that we will be part of, hosted by Miss Melissa Houston. And then we will have a couple of other live streams. And then after that, we will start working and hopefully have more, a more concrete schedule and more information about the actual launch of the show. So,
Yes.
So you got anything else you want to add, baby, before we get out of here?
I love you.
I love you. We didn't do the kiss too. We got to do the kiss. So there you go. Where else are you going to get that from, huh? You can't get that anywhere else. And do not block that, YouTube. That was a nice, just an innocent love kiss. So, all right, guys. Thank you again for everybody who's tuned in, fighting the good fight, and like trying to do it on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn and Twitter and everywhere else we're doing. We do appreciate it. We will again be back next week. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week into the weekend, and we will see you next Tuesday. So until then, I guess this is adios.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.